Tell Keith to take that birthday bag out of his shop. Oh, okay.
Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Jermaine.
Good morning, Keith. It's so nice to be on with a nice host.
Here you go.
No.
Here you go.
It's
One who appreciates us, right, Jermaine?
Well,
but DJ's not on the program today.
Pardon me?
DJ's not on the program today.
He's not coming in today?
Today is
Thursday.
Oh, that's right. That's
What's
right.
wrong with you, bro?
I don't know what made me think. I put up the wrong stuff, y'all. Don't pay me no attention.
Don't push us early, man.
The nice host checked you in.
I'm trying to make it be Friday already.
Hey, Keith said, but DJ's not here. Well, actually, DJ's here in spirit.
No, he's not here, period.
It actually says Free Flow Friday.
Did I hear somebody say something?
Oh,
I'm just saying.
no, he's not here.
It says
Do I hear something?
co-host DJ, the protege, Free Flow Friday.
That is hilarious.
Bring that up, Jermaine. You got to bring that part up.
I mean, it's up as far as
It is.
go,
So then
bro.
that means that tells me that we got to turn it up over on the other end.
I got you. Let me
Okay. You know which knobs.
Hey, well, good morning. Welcome to the program. Good morning, Michelle. I know we're trying to do some. I don't know why we'd be experimenting on my program, but
Why not?
well, I can give you 100 reasons why not. Why not? Well, good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good, bro. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Oh, I like this little angle. I don't have to be in the room.
Let's bring her camera in so maybe we can see her now. You kind of adjust yourself into the shot.
On. You got little earmuffs.
Yeah.
She's in Australia right now.
This is
what's
cool.
crazy?
This is cool.
Oh,
Jay, why are you in the
went
shot?
too. I didn't know you were going, Jermaine.
You running?
Yeah, I'm
We
gonna
running.
leave from Australia. And
We're
then
gonna
head back
run.
to the Americans.
Yes. Look.
Go ahead, Keith.
We could do this when we have multiple guests, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was I don't know where it was, and someone had come up and made a comment. Actually, gave me a compliment about the program, and me and
About your program?
Rhonda was riding in the car, and she said, "Oh yeah, all your little fans, you and Michelle." Everything I do is little. All your little fans, all your little listeners. I was like, wow, come on, man, really? So, Michelle, you called Beach the devil this morning?
Did I?
Satan himself.
I must have blacked out. I didn't realize I did.
You blacked out.
No, sister, you was being real black for us.
Sister.
Thank you, sister. Sister.
When you about to tell a story, let's not make this about
I
me.
did tell the story how
What was the story?
They'll be using terms like Michelle, oh, your little fans. Well, man, I have tens of listeners, and I think people need to be clear on that.
We're pretty clear on that.
Tens.
Did you hear the vocabulary Jermaine was using this morning that he said he got from you?
Impressive.
Hey, listen,
Woman.
man. Hanging around Keith.
You inspired him to say
too
woman.
much, man. But you inspired me to open up an encyclopedia, a dictionary.
To open up a what?
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
My tongue got fat on that part.
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
All right, spell it.
Oh, you done messed up now.
Hey, Jermaine, I'm gonna need you to stick to the 50-cent words, man. I'm gonna need you. Come on now. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. You can't mess with Keith.
Listen here, man. Listen. I feel like
you messed up.
I feel like some of Keith Parris is rubbing off on me, man. Because I've been using. I've been using.
What was the other word? You said woman, and what was the other one?
Well, woman. It was well woman and
He said jubilant.
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 I've never heard you
Even
use
though
that,
Keith don't use that, and I've never heard him, I just feel like it's something he would use.
I guess he will now.
See, so I'm telling you, my inner Keith.
You're gonna whoop his behind.
Jubilant.
Not a correct usage.
I'm feeling jubilant.
But we did get the root word of victuals, which is victuals.
Yeah.
So when Granny was talking about victuals, you know, you have victuals.
Is that right? I would never
visuals.
would have thunk it.
Victuals.
Victuals.
Too many words, man.
Too many words.
Yeah, too many.
I had an opportunity to speak with Reverend Dr. I can't think of Donna Childs yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked her, I said, what was it like?
Brilliant, by the way.
Huh?
She's brilliant.
Oh man, one a great.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
And I asked her, was there any pressure in having to do May Robertson's funeral? She said, the Lord got me through it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's a tough one. So I'm trying to make my mind, Michelle, if I'm going to get to one of these marches on Saturday.
You gotta go as a, what do you call a cub reporter? You have to be able to say you were there. You saw it with your own eyes. I definitely want to see how we show up in Milwaukee. It's important. And I think that, we have to, we can't just talk about the stuff on the sidelines, that at some point you do have to show up. So I plan to be there. And I know quite a few people who are saying they're coming.
I'm gonna try to, Dr. McCrae's funeral is Saturday. And so I'll get from that and I'll leave. Because the one at Cathedral Square starts at
I have to put I think it was 11 to
11.
Yeah, and I'll send it to you. And then because I know Shorewood has one that's later, it starts about an hour later than the one in Cathedral Square. So there are two that you may have an option of attending.
It should be. I wonder how many people are going to show up in DC for the protest. But the fact that they're
not doing one in DC.
Okay.
Yeah, they made a decision not to do one in DC. In fact, that was in the story that I read in the USA Today. Everything is being directed to everywhere else. They intentionally, because you may not get the coverage that you would want for it because of what the president is doing. So yeah, they are not doing one in DC.
Let me. I think is his name Hogue, the young man.
David.
On the DNC. Yeah. What do you think about all of that?
I knew it was coming, but let me tell you, I was and set it up so people know what you're talking about.
David Hogue is one of the survivors of Parkland, right? The shooting down in Florida. He was elected to the Democratic National Committee. We interviewed him. Yeah. We had an opportunity to interview him. And he wants the DNC to move more aggressively and progressively. And so I don't know where he got the $20 million he was going to primary. Some of the, I think it was some of the Dem representatives, right?
Yeah, because he's been talking about age, and he was saying that a number of the Democratic Party members are older. I think Nancy Pelosi is like 86. Jim Clyburn in his 80s. I mean, a number of these people are older. And he was saying that it was time for some new leadership, younger leadership. And, when I first heard the whole thing, I said, they're going to get rid of him because, you got to know how to go about these things. And he was being real aggressive. And while a lot of people don't disagree about the aging representation, you still can't overlook the skills of a Nancy Pelosi, institutional knowledge of a Maxine Waters. You can't just, and then this is the thing, like, even though you are a member of the Democratic Party, these people have been carrying the Democratic Party on their back for 30, 40 years, 50 years. And you're just going to come in and assertively, talk about moving them around. But what they did strategically and procedurally to get rid of him, to go back in and say that we need, because the DNC had just held their elections, for leadership. Ben Wickler, who was here in Milwaukee, or I'm sorry, in Wisconsin, the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, he actually ran to be the chair of the National Democratic National Committee, and wasn't successful. He lost out to a man by the name of Martin out of Minnesota. But they also have vice chair positions that they run for. So David Hogg had ran for a vice chair position. Malcolm Kenyatta had run, and some other folks. And they are, huh?
From Tennessee. Where's Malcolm Kenyatta from?
Malcolm is from where is he from? Michigan somewhere.
Okay.
He's not from the South. He's from Michigan or somewhere. I have to go back and look. But yeah, Malcolm has now gotten caught up in this because they're going to be doing either a recount. They talked about it was some problem with the election, and they're going to do a recount. And trust me, he's not going to survive a recount. So I think he was just going to walk away, if I'm not mistaken. I saw something this morning that he may just be resigning or just, not running again. I don't know. But I tell people all the time, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Mm-hmm. You could push for youth and for, younger members without offending people along the way.
I just read an article yesterday in the Post, or Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's 88, and they're saying that she's barely functioning. Now, again, she doesn't have a vote in Congress. She sits on committees. But this idea of when do we get too old? And then at some point, is that uncomfortable sometimes when people are not going to move on voluntarily, that they have to be moved?
I mean, if you look at Charlamagne the God, just did some commentary or was talking. I don't know if he's in an interview, but I just saw the headline where he said they lied to us, saying that the Democratic Party was hiding Joe Biden's either limitations because of his age or health concerns. They lied to us. There does have to be a time when people need to be able to learn how to bow out and to pass the torch. So many of these folks, they won't gracefully decide, and they overstay. They overstay the amount of time that they should. They don't do succession planning. Like if we look right now in our own state, Congresswoman Moore, Gwen, maybe like early 70s. I'm not sure how old the Congresswoman is, but at some point there's going to, be a need for a succession plan. And when you try to figure out so who would be the next person to run for Congress from the fourth CD, who would that person be? And you don't get a lot of planning that seems like it's in play, or folks don't have an idea when they should honestly, seriously start considering it, putting money aside to be able to run for these offices. So we don't. And a lot of these people, they don't know when to leave,
when you talk about Congress, then how much of it has to do with usually your succession, your success is based on seniority. And so for a lot of people, they've kind of put themselves in that situation where now, I can get better committee assignments because just of the years of service. Now, I don't think it's written in stone. You don't have to be the most senior person. That's always been the tradition. How much of that do you think is driving this?
Well, I know even in Congresswoman Moore's conversations that she's had before, she talked about waiting and working to get on Ways and Means. That was a huge committee for her, big priority for her, and she finally got appointed to it. So it's almost like I've been waiting this long for this aspect of the job. It now is in front of me. And yeah, I might be 71, 72 years old, but I just got here. I just got to the thing that I've been wanting to do. And so you hang around for another term, another 2 terms. So then we talking 74, we talking 76. At what point do people begin to say, okay, let somebody else come in? And I don't know. So I don't know, but I know that it does take, and you're right, it's not always seniority that gets you on committees. There are other people that can get onto some of these committees sooner than seniority would dictate. But we do have to get to a point where, I mean, like Mitch McConnell, it's amazing to me all the conversation about Joe Biden, but Mitch McConnell is freezing up literally on screen, not once, but twice. Where's that conversation? Where is it? Haven't, I mean, just like that, it happened, it went away, no big deal, but we're going to run Joe Biden down in the ground for whatever, health issues that we believe he may have. But a lot of these people, it is, and who was that? Was it out of California? Dianne Feinstein.
She died in office, right?
Yeah, you don't want to leave. It's like, come on, y'all. Give people an opportunity to serve as well. You can still be an integral part of service, just not in this way. And quite frankly, a lot of people used to the perks. They like the money, $180,000 is not a ton of money for some people, but it's more than some people have ever made. And then you get to be in the room. You at the White House. You got your own degree of power. So it's hard to walk away from those things. So David was right to question how long people stay. He just went about it the wrong way.
Obviously, but the Democratic Party has to look at. It was at one point considered a party where, under its tenet, it had younger people. Do you think that the fact that people are looking, individuals are saying that younger people are saying maybe, maybe not, I might look to do something else because the Democratic Party is just not, it doesn't look like me?
I mean, up until recently, the Republican Party didn't look like younger people either. Right. But they've always had, we got college Democrats, Republicans have their college Republicans. So if you're looking for representation throughout, you can find it. I mean, Jones down in what's his name? Justin Jones and the other Justin. These are young men, relatively young that are in the party. So there's a place for people. If you want to be involved, you can be involved. Nobody stops you from being involved. But when people start talking about, what leadership looks like, and I'm now going to start running things. I never thought I would be a person that said that, you need to wait your turn, but there's something to be said about you at least need to learn what the hell is going on in the building. Because I have people want to step up and lead. You don't even understand the building. You don't understand the lay of the land. I would tell anyone, yes, let's celebrate somebody getting elected to office at 19. But at 19, stepping up in the state capitol, you don't know a damn thing. You do not. And people can get mad at me. They can say whatever they want to. But just even having had enough life experience to understand when you're being played in a conversation and when people are placating you or when things, how things work, some of that stuff you can learn and some of that stuff requires some experience.
Seems like a contradiction, though.
To what?
Well, if you're saying that people need to be mindful that they're getting old in the job, at the same time you're talking about younger people coming in, and we want younger people obviously to be able to come in, and that you didn't say it, and I put in quotations, wait their turn. Is there a balance?
There definitely is. I mean, you have the opportunity to learn from institutional knowledge and get the training that you need to lead. Too many people step up to be ready to lead, but they don't have the skill set. They don't have the experience. And only in government, and I've talked about this a number of times, only in government would we allow people that do not have experience to lead major offices, major governmental positions. You could never go in the private sector and be 19 years old and be the CEO of a company. It would never happen. It just, unless you created that company yourself. You could never go in the private sector and not have a college degree and think you're about to be the vice president or the chief financial officer. It would never happen. So we make room for anybody to serve. But that does not negate the fact that the people that do serve need to have a certain set of skills and education to be able to do that. So there is a sweet spot.
And and I agree. And I think to be licensed to preach at 18 and you had no real life experience, and I do know in ancient Judaism, you couldn't become a rabbi until you were 30, right?
Mhm.
So this idea of you, especially when you're in your 20s, man, there's a whole lot of craziness going on in your 20s.
Yeah,
Right?
did you see the Pope being 22 years old?
No.
Like, no. I mean, and so you definitely, and I'm saying this as somebody who's been on that end, who's been young, who's come in and wanted to contribute and be a part of things. But I always understood I had a lot to learn. I don't know how many times I have been in a room with Martha Love and some older sisters, some different sisters, and I'll have a moment, and I've said it out loud sometime. Yeah, I'm not really grown enough for this room. Because you listen to some of the conversations and the things that they are linking together by way of backstory, who the players are, what the chess moves need to be, and you realize, like, I don't have the depth. I don't. And if you listen to some of these people talk, you realize they are not students of politics. They're not students of history. They don't understand fully policy. People are feeding them information and they don't have the depth to actually, if you take them talking points away from them, they can't go with you on these conversations. And that's who we got in the room. People who don't even respect the fact that you don't have the depth to be in some of these conversations.
You're listening to Community Voice and our very special test program.
It's turned into a real show.
Call her a test guest.
Our test guest.
Test tube, baby.
You're listening You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break. Michelle, you hanging around?
No, I'm getting out of here, man. Y'all not paying me for this. I gotta go.
Respectfully, Michelle, we need you to stay. Respectfully.
We'll be right back.
Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
Yeah, they clearly followed school. Well, the school year is over now. Yeah. Anyway, and I guess Kennedy just got promoted. So she is now a first grader.
All right. Yes.
Progress is always.
Keith, did I see what I think I just saw?
Thumbs up.
He did the.
Yeah, though he did to push it though. Yeah. But progress is always good. So, that's a milestone that should be celebrated. So, yeah.
Going from kindergarten to the first grade.
Yeah, man, that's a milestone.
Let's not
man.
do that.
Yeah, don't bring that up because I think.
You're right. It's a big
Yeah, because he doesn't want to
big
talk
thing,
about
man.
that.
You gotta have parties and the marching band and everything.
Okay.
Keith is one of the few people I know that
Yep.
don't want to talk about that.
Don't want to talk.
Now,
about
is
kindergarten.
it personal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very personal.
You knew it was personal, man. Why are you trying to be messy?
Hey, listen, man. Sometimes, man, you gotta reassure, man, like the song say, and reassure. My
Rhonda
uncle
was talking about the what are they called, the Deuteronomies.
Oh yeah! Stop yelling at the Lord,
Man, can you play that again, man? I missed it. I stepped out the room. But
God,
I
that
heard
is
it.
deep.
Man, Rhonda was talking about the Deuteronomies.
Why are you talking
Whisper
so loud? Why are you yelling?
prayer for love.
Man, pull that up, man.
I got it too. It's so
Somebody
funny.
might not have heard it yesterday.
Well, you know what, Doc? I figured that we'll go ahead and hire Joe Willie and them because it's Joe Willie and the Deuteronomy.
You said it was your group.
Yeah, I used to play for Joe.
Oh,
Joe Willie
Joe Willie and the
and
Deuteronomies.
the Deuteronomies. All right, here we
Lord
go.
have mercy.
Whisper.
You gotta whisper a prayer. Yeah,
His background singers.
got to holler. Just whisper. Whisper. Whisper to Jesus. Just whisper. What you hollering
We bringing them in for the Easter bash.
Yeah, you gotta bring out. Those Shell gotta bring them.
They got the suits for it.
The suits for it.
Why y'all singing so loud in the background? All you got to do is whisper.
Oh, the background singers
Right
is
here.
hilarious.
In the, wow! You need to stop hollering at Jesus.
Stop hollering at Jesus.
Look at this cat.
Stop
though.
hollering at the Lord. You need to whisper. Oh,
I know he ain't dancing.
Dude.
why is that pain in your
See the
head?
mother killing it.
Cause you're hollering.
The
All
dude
you
dancing.
got to do is whisper.
To his
Why am I dizzy
Look
right
at that,
now?
look at that dude though.
He said, why am I
Because
dizzy
I'm
right
not
now?
Whispering. I don't know.
to his
Deuteronomy,
background singers.
why you singing so loud? All you got to do is whisper.
He said, Deuteronomy, why y'all singing so loud?
Oh, keep your head.
Everybody else had
Got
on
on
blue
white
shoes.
shoes.
Cut it down, son. What you hollering about? Hush.
Cut it down some hush.
Cut the drum down, son.
It ain't even no drums.
Why you playing that so loud? The song is supposed to say whisper. Bring it down just a little bit. There you go. You are the whisper. Play it off, son. Oh! Keep your heart. Keep it in tune. Hold on. Listen. Shh. Whisper.
He talking about everybody else to be quiet. Then he holler.
You better whisper.
Probably gotta bring Joe Willie to
this. Can't spell it all the way. You need to whisper.
Can't spell it all the way.
Stop hollering at the Lord. He can hear you. He can see you thinking. He can see you thinking. You ain't got to holler. All you got to do is, you better whisper.
You talk about contradictory.
Whisper, 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 whisper. Stop hollering at you need them.
Man, are you kidding me?
Joe Willie
and the Deuteronomy.
and the Deuteronomies. Joe Willie.
Lord
You
have
know,
mercy.
Wow.
Whisper
Whisper of
Whisper.
prayer.
You don't have to holler.
Stop hollering at the Lord.
They had that little James Cleveland.
Duh, right. Shh.
Now, you know, it sounds like Ricky Smiley.
It is. It is.
Okay. I thought that was Whisper.
Yeah, that cat is a fool. So yeah, Michelle, respectfully, the other Michelle, if you're listening, can you please bring in Joe Willie and the Deuteronomies to the Easter Bash? I think the
Lord have
people's
Don't
think
do
the
that 'cause
people's
people gonna be actually looking for 'em.
for Joe Willie and the
What the-
Deuteronomies.
Yeah,
I think the people's want to hear from Joe and Willie and them.
No, they don't. No,
They don't want to hear from him.
No, I don't think.
Well,
I don't.
maybe they want.
Well, let me say this
whisper
though, man.
prayer.
But whoever those background,
Yeah, Doc,
oh,
they was real
tight.
low.
They
Yeah,
was tight.
They
was
probably a
tiny
real
people.
group.
Yeah,
They're probably a real group. Some locals that he knew or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
Well, those are the Deuteronomies, man. The Deuteronomies, they be singing all over the place.
All right. You guys watch the game last night?
What? Man,
I
listen.
fell asleep, man. That
I'll
game was
watch.
back and forth for a long time. I wasn't sure, but I knew Indiana should take care of business.
Yeah, man, that was a great game, man. They was balling, and like I said, I knew Indiana was gonna come out swinging because whoever wins game 3 normally wins the series. The win is 1-1. So when a team wins game 3, they normally wins the series.
Well, the biggest thing is if you do what you're supposed to do, and that's take care of home court.
Yeah.
If they take care of home, the next game is in Indiana,
And if
correct?
they win, win,
that puts them at a 3-1.
3-1 going to Oklahoma, so you can lose that game in Oklahoma. So
And
you
come
can-
back home and
come back
clinch
home and clinch it. Yeah, yeah, because that'll be game 6 at home.
Keith, what did you think? What was your perception of the game? Did it go as you thought?
No, I wanted OKC to win. So
Hey,
Really?
man,
obviously,
jump
yeah.
on this bandwagon, man.
I ain't jumping on the bandwagon. Telling folks that last night. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
But you know, Keith, that's why I always say
Read my lips.
that's why you play the game,
No
because
tackle.
on paper, OKC's supposed to run away with this thing.
Oh man, they're supposed to blow them cats out, man. Like on paper, like you would think, sweet, because when you look at the paper, you're like, oh yeah, who gonna match up against who? But surprisingly, I've been surprised that Indiana, just that lineup that they ran out there.
What's that little white guy named Colin or something like that? What's his name?
Yeah, the TJ.
He created like 4 turnovers and
I mean, but he's
actually
like Speedy
offensively
Gonzalez.
contributed to.
Yeah, Doc, he like road runner out there.
Don't get me started, man.
So he kind
I
of
don't know what
remind
it
me.
is that any white player is out there. Everything they do is just so magnificent.
Oh
And,
boy, now
you
he's
know,
going to turn
no,
into a
I'm
No,
race
no, no.
fan.
I'm on the
Always
tangent.
come back to slavery.
You know, it does, because you sit up now. You could have a brother out there with the same little thing,
Yeah,
and you're not getting the same
No,
commentary
but Keith, now
about
for
how,
me, I
how
mentioned it
important
because
he is to the team.
his impact in that game, not his impact was huge then. Because
Well-
when that game started, it looked like OKC was getting ready to run away with that thing.
I
Well-
thought it was what's the kid, Matherin? He was.
Oh, yeah,
he
Ben.
Was the dip, he
yeah,
was the
Ben, yeah.
difference.
He had 20-some points.
Yeah, I
off the
mean,
bench.
why we talked about McConnell had to still. This
Yeah, but
dude,
those are points when you talk about takeaways, turnovers. He impacted. He had like 4,
Now, I do have to say,
dude,
you do,
and he changes the rate, the pace of the game.
Yeah, because I was going to say that you do need that pesky person that you can put out there. He
Getting
kind of
close to
remind me
number
of
20 now. Oh, here we go.
when Cleveland had Matthew Dellavedova.
Here we
and
go.
And then after he did what he did in the finals, he got that
He had
stupid contract
he had
from
one
us.
game.
I couldn't believe it.
He
Yeah,
had
you
one
right.
game.
You right.
He had one game.
You are
Look, Tyler
110%
Hero
right.
is in the league because
You
he
right.
had one good game during the NCAA tournament.
You right.
Now I'm gonna say this
I
about
do
Tyler
agree
Hero:
with
he has been productive.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, man, look, everything Hardenstein. They're trying to justify how you paying this dude $87 million.
I can't even see that.
But he's a great picker.
and he's
you
a great
know,
passer from
That
the
was
post.
like Joe Ingles was the greatest inbound passer in the NBA.
I heard that.
You get
yeah.
paid that kind of money to be
Yeah.
an inbound passer?
Yeah.
Seeing that we inbound passes
All the
just
time.
all the time.
Yeah. You right.
And so to me, it seems that
You're right.
I'm not saying racist, But I just
Why you hollering, Keith? Stop
I,
hollering at the loud.
dude,
Getting worked up over there, man.
Oh man, I'm just you get frustrated, man.
His arms folded, Doc.
Yeah, man, you get frustrated. I mean, it's just this dude. They were giving the I was listening to it. They were because at one point I was in the car listening, and then because I went to pick up some food, go home, and they were talking about who was doing what. So Nathrin had X number of points, da, and then but of course they had to include T.J. McConnell. He had 2 points. What? One of the biggest 2 points of the game.
But he's not in there for offense.
Oh, no, man. but even when they was talking about him on the national broadcast, they showed his dad, and they was like, his dad was on him from when he was little, and his dad coached him up and coached him to be just this pesky player, and you got to give a dad props. And I'm thinking, just like the way Keith said, but now that you look at it, you like, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, that you came in with energy, but it was a lot of other players that came in with energy too. Like Obi Toppin was down the floor. Yeah. He was up down the floor the whole time. Like the whole time. But they don't give him credit.
How many turnovers did he create?
Man, how many points and passes and rebounds?
And how many points did they get off the turnovers that TJ McConnell? I saw one. He had a steal. They turned the ball over.
He turned it over. He came down and passed the ball in the corner. No, he came down.
Yeah, he did.
Shea was bouncing. He passed the ball in the corner.
They overturned it, right?
Because they had viewed it. They had went to the replay.
They overturned the play. Yeah. I just say that, man, if you're a marginal white player in the league, that you get the impression that's how people.
You're making this about race, Keith.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see it like coaching. Watch an NFL game.
Yeah,
they will anoint certain coaches.
Right.
You hear like, oh, such and such and such and such, and oh, he's the next guy up.
Yeah.
You don't always get that if you're a black coach,
especially in the college.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that is correct.
And I don't want to sound
in the conversation of greatest quarterbacks of all time. How many black quarterbacks come up in that conversation?
Not many.
Not many, because they talk about Joe Namath.
They talk about Joe Montana.
I mean, have you had?
If you say top 5, is there a black one in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mahomes.
Cordell Stewart.
Of all time, I said.
Who?
I mean, not Cordell Stewart.
Slash?
No. I mean, not Cordell Stewart. The cat that played for Philly.
You talking about Warren Moon? No.
Randall Cunningham.
Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, but is Donovan McNabb Hall of Fame?
That's what I'm saying.
I think so. Didn't he? No, you don't think he's Hall of Fame?
No. Is there a black quarterback in the top 5? Brett Favre is going to land in there.
I think Donovan is in there. I think Patrick is in there. I think Michael Vick should be in there.
You got Brady.
Favre. Favre's going to be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Favre had more turnovers than.
I think you have Dan Marino. Who else would be? Dan Marino. They say Joe Namath, but when you actually look at what Joe Namath
What about Bart Starr?
Bart Starr was actually, he's Hall of Famer. I don't know because his numbers, because Bart Starr was a quarterback on a running team.
What about Warren Moon, though?
Warren
Moon was a monster.
I think you think about him, Warren Moon, played 7 years in the Canadian League before he could even get in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, it'd be hard because
is that number driven or race driven?
I think it was race and the fact that you had such a dearth of black quarterbacks until here recently.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me who are the top quarterbacks in the league, it's going to probably be black. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, you.
So what you think about Vic, though?
Who knows how good Michael Vick could have been had he not caught that case?
And that's crazy that even the guy that was banned, the black guy that had kneeled, I forgot his name. I can't think of his name.
Oh, Kaepernick. He was okay.
No. He would have been. He would have been if. I think he would have been, man, because he
was an average quarterback. But again, he had a great playoff. He killed the Packers.
Yeah, killed us, man.
But I don't see where, if you're just saying just in terms of skill, he was good, but he wasn't great. I mean that Aaron Rodgers.
So you don't think he's better than Aaron Rodgers or better than Favre?
I would just say emotionally he's better than Favre. Statistically, Favre has better numbers.
Well, that's because he played long.
No, well, he was productive. Now, you take the good and the bad with Brett Favre. He also set the records for most interceptions.
Yeah.
So, there's no question he has a ring. Kaepernick doesn't have a ring. But I mean, when I saw Kaepernick play, he would have been a good quarterback. I'm not going to say he would have been a great quarterback.
So even if you put him in a system that he had a good line, he had a good offensive line, because he can move, so he can escape pressure.
And how did he beat the Packers? He ran.
Yeah, he killed us with
ran.
that. Man.
I mean, he ran against the Packers.
We don't do well with running quarterbacks.
Man, I mean, because our defensive ends are slow.
And
So when you got slow defensive ends and slow linebackers on the outside,
people may not agree with this, but if he was really a super talented quarterback, in spite of everything that was going on, they would try to figure out how to keep him in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think
who was that ran all over us in that Super Bowl? We just don't do well with the run. We used to. We had our moments in there.
That's because we had outside linebackers.
Terrell Davis
we had outside linebackers, and we had
Davis probably played behind one of the greatest
lines. Exactly.
Because there were Terrell Davis, they had other running backs who did just as well because that line was so good.
Man, they was pushing them.
Yeah, I understand the politics around Colin Kaepernick.
I think it got ugly when Trump spoke out.
Oh yeah, I think it was. It rubbed a whole lot of people, and I think that people used it for political advantage, to be able to go out. Now, I would say that Raul Mahmoud, former Chris Jackson. Now, I thought he should have been Hall of Fame, and I think they killed his career. No, basketball player.
Oh yeah, Mahmoud, yeah. For Denver, because he was one of the best shooters,
one of the best scorers in the league.
Yeah, and then Craig Hodges the same way.
Poor Craig. Caller, welcome to the program.
Come on, man! I got some black quarterbacks, man. The same way Mackey's man.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man? So you
ain't gonna say Randall Cunningham?
He did say Randall Cunningham.
Okay, but you didn't say Russell Wilson. You got to run it too.
Hey, take us off speaker, man, because you're breaking up. Okay, go on, man.
What about Russell? Russell got a ring. He one of the greatest.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet you didn't say that. I bet you did.
I didn't say Russell.
I know you did.
I said Warren Moon.
We're not talking. You already talked about that. We're talking about people who you didn't say, Negro.
Okay. All right, man. Why you yelling at me today, man? What I do?
You got the whisper.
Yeah.
Whisper. Why you yelling at the host?
Why you yelling at Keith?
Whisper your comments, please.
Hey, you know what it is though. Like I said, Russell should be in there.
Okay.
Russell should be in there. Cunningham should be in there. You said Warren, right?
Of course.
Who else as far as black quarterbacks? Because you never know these white folks.
Patrick Mahomes.
Dude ain't black.
He is black, man.
Cut that out.
What about Cordell Stewart?
No, Cordell don't count.
Cordell Slash?
He was good, but he don't count. Well, that's the case. Then you might as well put Charlie Wilson in there too. Then Charlie, yeah, you might as well put Charlie in there too. Then, but you can't put him in there. Charlie Ward.
Yeah, Charlie Ward didn't play pro ball though.
Yeah, but he ain't. But we talking about Hall of Fame. We talking about the greats.
Yeah, Tim Tebow was a great college player.
Tebow? Heck no, man. No.
He was a great college player.
First of all, Tebow was the first quarterback to kneel down on his knee. They didn't say nothing about that because he was kneeling down for the abortion. Remember that?
Right.
But they didn't say nothing about that.
He wasn't ordained elder. He was kneeling to pray.
Yeah, whatever. He was kneeling while they were singing American flag for abortions or whatever it was. That's what it was.
Okay, so what about Doug Williams?
Oh
no.
I like the Doug Williams, man. Did he play for Washington?
Did you say what about Dan Marino? Dan Marino in there, man.
Oh, yeah.
John Elway.
Dan Marino. When we were talking about black quarterbacks, I had Marino. I had Brady.
You got Montana.
Yeah, I had Montana. Only because Montana won. He didn't have a great arm, but he was great in that system.
What about?
Come on, man! Look what he had. He had Rice. He had Craig. Yeah. Man, come on, man! That dude was good.
I haven't heard anyone mention the great John Elway.
I said John Elway. I just said him.
Yeah, Elway.
Yeah, I said Elway.
They got me up under this air conditioner. I can't hear a doggone thing.
Whispering. Yeah, so I think only because black quarterbacks have only recently been able to ascend. When you look at it, how many black quarterbacks have Super Bowl rings? I mean, were they starting quarterback with Doug Williams? And
Russell Wilson.
Yes, Russell Wilson. Yeah, I gotta guess. The crazy thing about Doug was he wasn't even supposed to play that year, but who got hurt? Rippon or someone got hurt?
Yeah.
And
I forgot about Mark Rippon from the Bengals.
Yeah, but Doug Williams was really good with Tampa Bay. Just they never could get over the hump.
How many? You said who?
Joe Gilliam.
I don't know who that is.
Man, Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam, Tennessee State. He started for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He ran into some off the field issues, and Terry Bradshaw ended up becoming president.
And I didn't hear you say nothing about the old man going to mandatory training camp the other day.
Who?
The old man, Aaron Rodgers, getting married.
Yeah, well, I think is he going to go in the Hall of Fame as a Packer?
Yeah, he's going to go back like the rest of they do, like they all do. Go back.
Oh, that's where his numbers are going to be from.
Yeah, somebody just came back and retired as a Packer.
They all do it. They every last one of them Packers do it. I'm surprised down to Charles did it. What Jordy Nelson did it.
Charles Woodson, I think he went in as a Raider.
Oh yeah, that's where we knew him as from there. So he shouldn't have went back there. But yeah. Oh yeah, you forgot. He didn't got a ring either, but Jim Kelly.
Yeah, Jim Kelly.
We just ain't got no ring. Buffalo just can't win a Super Bowl no matter what year it is.
Man. How do you go 4 straight Super Bowls, man? 4 straight.
He didn't say 4. He said 4.
All right, you listen to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Parris on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice, and we're joined in studio by Mr. Chris Crane and
Helen Harris.
I was going to introduce you. There's Helen Harris, who is, and I can say this, right?
Yes,
a long-time listener.
Yes,
this is the first time that, even from time to time, I know when Kurt would call in, you would get on the phone. So good to meet you in person.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
We're here to talk about this is done through the auspices, I think, of St. Mark's AME Church. Dale Summer, how'd you get that title?
Well, Miss Harris, tell us a little bit more.
That's a wonderful question. We have a scholarship program at St. Mark AME Church, and our pastor is the Reverend Dr. Joy L. Gallman. Some time ago, one of our members who has since passed left a trust to St. Mark AME Church specifically for the purpose of providing music instruction for our students. That was her vision, and that is part of her legacy, to see that our children grow and learn in music. And so I was on the committee that activated that scholarship in 2006. And since then, we've had dozens of young people through the program. We started a scholarship program that students could apply for. They could take any lesson they wanted to take at any music school. The funds went directly to the school, and many of those students became proficient. We have 2 now that are in college. Generally, we provide lessons for students who are in 2nd through 12th grade, but if they major or minor in music in college, we also provide assistance to that. So that is where the funding is coming from, and the Dale Music Scholarship for minority students. Of course, we accept anyone. And we were blessed that our Executive Director of Music and Arts, Chris Crane, has so much experience in this area and with music camps that when we asked him if he would sponsor a camp and run a camp for us, he graciously consented to do it, and we are blessed for that.
Yeah.
Band camp?
Yeah.
The band camp. Are you the minister of music there?
Yes.
Okay. How
Yes.
long you been at St. Mark?
St. Mark, almost 3 years now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
For for us as descendants of enslaved Africans and our religious traditions and celebrations, music is important.
Yes.
But when you look at many of, I hate to use the term secular artists, but many of them got their start in church.
Yes, they
in
did.
that religious space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to develop that, and this almost kind of augments, because we do see there seems to be a diminishing of music programs in the Milwaukee public schools.
Mm-hmm.
So a program like this becomes very important because it does develop young, aspiring musicians.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
one of the things we want to do is that I know is one of Chris's goals is to grow our church musician base. And if students have these skills, they can go on, they can pick up extra money as they grow up. I learned piano in school, in Milwaukee Public Schools years ago. I was never gifted, but I could read notes and I could play for Sunday school. They'd give you a few bucks. I could play for funerals. They'd give you a few bucks. And they can go on and have much higher aspirations and all the things that they can do with the HBCUs. You see those marching bands, but you have to know how to play an instrument to do that.
And those are scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a college education. A lot of times you don't you don't think. I don't know the number of people who've gotten their starts when you talk about special HBCU marching bands, got their musical start because they were part of the band. But certainly to be able, or not just say the band, and I'm sure vocals too. There are people in colleges on music scholarships based on their singing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of vocals. How long does the program go?
Well, the program starts on Monday and it runs for 5 weeks. Yeah, so it'll be 10 sessions. It's Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
From students check in at 8:30 and they will be gone by 12:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll be out the way for us Thursday as we stage for the Juneteenth march.
Yes.
Yes.
So what kind of, when you talk about music, is there particular instruments, or is it just a general music 101 where you just get a whole education on music, or is it particular instructions when it comes to instruments?
So when I started doing these camps back in 2011, it was important to me to teach every instrument that I play, I've learned, but not just do the music component, but we're doing social programming. We're talking about things like anger management and self-esteem and confidence. So all of those components are intertwined inside of the lesson. So at this particular camp, we'll be doing drums, percussion, songwriting. I have a class that I do called Just Imagine. So I'm going to merge that, blend that into the percussion class, where we'll be able to create a rhythm and then imagine the colors and all of the things that come from just playing drums. We'll be doing piano, we'll be doing guitar.
Um, a lot of musicians get their starts on the drum, huh?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I started on the drums.
Everybody start on the drums.
Started too.
And correct me, piano is actually a percussion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you strike it.
Yes.
Well, it depends. It depends on how you're playing it.
Okay.
Organ is more of a percussion than
Really?
piano is. Yeah.
Why would you?
And I didn't know that right away. But God taught me some things, and the organ is really a percussive instrument.
Is there any discussions on just the evolution of music in this diaspora, in terms of how we as descendants of enslaved Africans have kind of evolved our music? We do have our own distinct music we have created.
Definitely.
Genres of music in terms
All
of
of these
jazz.
genres are ours.
All of them?
All of them. From bluegrass to blues to country. That's black music.
Well, I heard a guy, and he was a black blues musician, and he said that we were listening to bluegrass. I was a kid, I was very young, and we lived in Tennessee, and that's all you heard was country and bluegrass. But I'm just saying, in terms of the other piece of it, my good friend Craig Stingley always, in the South in particular, there was this intermingling of descendants of the Scott Irish and Anglo-Saxons, where these influences kind of blended. So you can go to a Southern white Pentecostal church, and the music is very similar to the music you would hear in a black church.
Definitely.
So, and that's why I'm saying our music evolved in terms of adapting. Obviously, there was European music that we would put. Gospel music is a great example, right? I mean, we talk about the great hymns of the church, but then, gospel music is created where I was having this conversation with Bishop Hines a few years ago, and I said the thing about gospel music is, in terms of music theory, is done wrong. Jazz is done wrong, right? I mean, there is some foundational, but all the little half notes and all those things, Europeans don't teach it that way, right?
What we do is we take whatever music and we make it our own. You can play Amazing Grace the way it's written, and then you can hear Amazing Grace the way we sing it.
Wouldn't even recognize it, right?
I know. And one of the things that Chris is really adamant about, and I really appreciate that, is that he wants the students to be able to play by ear. A lot of our gifted people, they play by ear, but when you go to a regular music school, you generally are not going to get that. So we want our children to be able to do both, to be able to read the music, the European music and whatever music is written down, and also to be able to play by ear. He can hear someone singing and just start picking up the notes and knowing what key that person is in. But that's ear training that a lot of our Black musicians have. Our church musicians have that, and we want our children to learn some of that so that they can just play a song in addition to knowing how to play the notes.
When you think about people like Quincy Jones,
oh my gosh,
Patrice Rushen, when you hear Patrice Rushen went back to school to learn orchestration, right?
Yeah.
So that means that when you're doing those music shows, because they have to put together the sheets, she was able to go back and do that. But I like that there's this combination between what would be kind of organic, the ability to be able to hear and do it, but also the ability to be able to read music, right? Because again, if you really want to go into other things, you got to be able to read, right? And I understand now with computers, you sing it in, the computers that do the notes for you. It's kind of like that AI piece of it.
Technology is great.
Yeah, but I mean, but be able to do that where you're able to expand what you're able to do. I've used that twice in a sentence. What you're able to do, and I think to be able to expand it again. And part of that conversation I had with Bishop Hines pointed out he wished he would have been more formally trained. I said, now with the computer, you just sing it in, they'll give you the notes, they'll do all that. But I'm always amazed when I listen to the instrumentality in gospel songs and how complicated it is now in terms of what you're hearing people play. You think that part of that is just the exposure, education, or it's just how music evolves?
No, it's how music evolved. I mean, gospel music in particular is a combination of everything: jazz, blues, straight ahead jazz. I mean, there's different forms of jazz music. But when you listen to, gospel music has evolved so much. The way we voice our chords, some of the triads, or they're just different, from right hand to left hand. And more R&B music, I found it's basic chords. But then we start talking industry. We dive into a thing of less complicating the music. Gospel music is a whole bunch of feeling and emotion. And that's our culture. And if you can't play like that in certain, arenas, you're not considered a good musician.
And that's it. The late great Thomas Watley, we were at his celebration, and one of the people that worked with him got up and kind of alluded, said, Thomas wasn't a real good musician. And I pointed out to that person, I said, no, Thomas played the way it was written. He was a trained musician. So when Thomas would go in, he's reading the notes. Now it's all that other thing that we put into it. So a lot of times, how do we go beyond? I had taken a poetry class in college. Everybody wanted free form, right? Everybody. And Dr. Williams said to me, he said, Keith, a house is as good as its foundation. You got to have the basics before you can go into other things. And it helped me a whole lot in terms of a whole lot of things. That it's great when you take your artistry to a different level, but there's always this baseline you should have in terms of foundation, right?
Sometimes, Keith, but just that basic foundation isn't enough.
Oh, of course.
To take you to that next place. I grew up around some people who, my mother taught me to read music.
Okay.
And my mother could read just like she's reading a book. But if something else came up past them sheets, she'd be calling me over to the organ. Come here, get over here. And it's important. So she taught me the importance of knowing that part of it. Unfortunately, in a lot of Black churches, we don't read music.
Yeah.
We're not required to because it doesn't flow that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think when you look at, and I hate to use the term high Baptist, but when you look at more formalized training, when at the late Dr. Calvin Butts's funeral, at Abyssinian Baptist Church, they had string quartet. They were doing like choral music, and people reading where and you kind of got. But then, and I give them credit, they also had where there was that spirited gospel piece of it too. Um, it, it's an interesting debate. You're right in terms of where we're going in our worship experience. I'm talking about church, but in our worship experience and how the music. I think the other thing for a lot of Black gospel folks, they want to be able to write these songs that are played or sung in white churches. So that whole worship type style of music now that you hear, where it is, it's not traditional gospel by any stretch of the imagination, but you want to. It's interesting.
Well, I like a variety of music. I love hymns. I love gospel. Um, I love anthems, and I'm learning to love the newer music. Back in the day, when we had 500, 600 members back in the day, we had 7 choirs. We had the gospel choir and we had the senior choir. And the senior choir under Professor Offutt, they sang the anthems. Let Mount Zion Rejoice. They sang the anthems, the 4-part anthems, and hymns. Everybody sung hymns, though. Everybody sung hymns because that's how we opened the church. And then the gospel choir would focus on the gospel music. So there was something for everybody. And you learn to appreciate all kinds of music. That's what we want for our children. I don't want them stuck in one place. I want them to be able to play different kinds of music, to be able to enjoy different kind of music. They enjoy symphonic music, they just don't know it. Because every movie has it in the background. Somebody's playing in that orchestra to set the tone of that movie. So that's what we want for our children, that to give them more experiences and to give them the opportunity to try their wings at music.
The first time I heard an actual live symphony orchestra was Milwaukee Symphony performed at Robert Fulton, and I remember going, wow, this is, because as you said, this is what I hear in the movies, and to be able to, so after that, not being formally trained, but certainly a lover of music, I agree with you. We should be, look, in my mind, just do it well.
Yeah.
I think if you learn, and certainly teaching, when you teach young folks the importance of it in such a way where then they embrace it, because it's like, why are we doing this old music? And you got to go like, well, the old music is like the foundation. While you folks doing hip hop, oh man, that was back in the day. Yeah, but they sampling back in the day. When you look at some of the great songs, it was some of the great songs from the 70s and 80s that now we have changed and sampled and been a part of it. Is there a cost?
No. So there's no cost for this camp. We've been taking some donations if people would like to donate, but this camp has been paid for by the Dale Music Scholarship. And so we are looking to fill these seats up. We got about 10 seats left. And I just want to put this out. We're not going to, this camp, we won't be focusing on church music, but we'll be teaching the basics of music so the kids can get a basic knowledge of what the instruments are and how to create atmospheres and energy using certain instruments. But you can find out more about this camp. You can reach me, Chris Crane, at 414-502 0287. I forgot my phone up. I'm sitting here.
How often do you call you anyway?
You know what? But I never use. Yes, it's 414-502-8271.
Okay.
This is my Milwaukee number.
Okay.
I'd like to say that I met Chris before he became our music director, and I heard someone was having a music camp. I think I might have seen it on Facebook or something like that. And that just piqued my interest. And this was what, about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
And so I called the number and I talked to him and I said, "Oh, may I come and observe your camp?" And he said, "Yes, you're welcome." And he had that camp down on King Drive.
Yeah, at the on the bayou. It's what is it now? Brunsville now.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Brownsville Kitchen.
yeah. We was there.
So my husband and I went, and that was like right after COVID when people were just gathering in
Yeah.
spaces again. So I was a little leery, but I was so impressed with what he was doing. The children were in different areas and they rotated among the different teachers. So there was a group here on drums, there was a group on piano, there was a group doing writing, and then they would rotate and do different things. So he has a cadre of people that he has been working with who are familiar with doing this. The children will also get some lunch, and we're going to bring in some artists who during lunchtime who can give them a sample of what some other instruments are. So one young man is going to come in and demonstrate a saxophone for them. And we're hoping to get a young man who's a cellist to come in and demonstrate for them. So
Yeah, we just call those a demonstration
yes,
periods.
demonstration periods. Mhm. So it's going to be fun. And the children, it's hands-on because often in school, they don't have the funds to have instruments for students, and you get a lot of music theory. But we want this to be, it's going to be hands-on for the kids. And with 10 sessions, with 5 weeks, they'll come out with a little bit of proficiency and understanding. And what we hope is that some of them will have the desire to pursue an instrument who we can funnel into the music scholarship program.
Again, the historic St. Mark AME Church presents Dale Summer, a music camp hosted by Mr. Chris Crane. You can call 414-502-80287, or you can register online at www.thpaf1music.com. That's
TBPAF. Yes.
F1music.com.
Yes.
And what we can do is we can also, I think I can send this flyer, we can post the flyer. And you're still taking registration?
Yes, we got 10 seats left. After those 10, first come, first serve, we're gonna.
And what's the age, just so?
Ages 8 through 15, and we'll move around with the age a little bit. It may be a little higher, a little bit lower, depending on the kid. But we talk with the parents. If they're 7 and they can sit, they have a decent attention span, then they can come.
Let me thank Mr. Chris Crane, Miss Helen Harris. Finally get to see her. I've seen you before, but man, to have you here on the program. Give my best to Kurt.
Thank you so much. We appreciate this opportunity.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice, and we have a few minutes left. I have, just always, I knew Miss Harris would listen to the program, and so I get a chance to, and I think I met her before, but certainly, Lord. Well, it's Black Music History Month. I think, the exposure to music, it's amazing how, like I said, it's been evolving. I just listened to hip hop and how that's evolved to the point. But I'm going to say this, every piece of music ain't good. I think, and even back in the day, every piece of music wasn't good. And then I think, to find just talents where, you just find these folks who are phenomenally talented. You have a lot of people, and you talk about it all the time, where it's more the production than it is the talent. And where you have some people who are just talented. I didn't know that Eminem and Mariah Carey had a beef.
Oh yeah. Though he actually put that in one of his songs.
Yeah, and you know what caused it?
What?
When they was doing 8 Mile, they wanted Mariah Carey to be in the movie.
I think she turned it down.
And but the problem was he wanted Mariah Carey to play his mama. And she's only 3 years older than him. And so I guess it turned into, it don't take much. It don't take much for people to, now we've been beefing for years, but I didn't realize that they had a beef.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been squashed. But.
Yeah, he actually like in some of his songs, I forgot the name of the song, but he would mention her name, and like in the video, like he'll make fun of certain things, because all of his videos was really like funny type thing. It had humor towards it. So yeah, he used to talk about that in all his songs about the beef he was having with her. Yeah. But I never knew the backstory behind it.
Yeah, that was, and it came out yesterday. I don't know if I was watching Entertainment Tonight, and it came up about the beef that they had. And I guess part of it was because she was recognized. Let me ask a question. BET does this Lifetime every year for the BET Awards.
Yeah.
Does BET give Eminem
because it's Black entertainment? That's a good question, man.
Or Tina Marie?
That's a good. Well, I think because VH1 and MTV, when they was doing their awards and things like that, they wasn't recognizing Black people like that. So I think that's why BET launched it.
Should, I'm not saying should or could.
Yeah.
BET recognize Marshall Mathers.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Not even though BET is part of Viacom.
Yeah.
And, Black entertainment is just part of the whole conglomerate, VH1, MTV, BET. But or Tina Marie. Listen to Tina Marie, especially Tina Marie.
Yeah. Now, I think that, with MTV and VH1, they wasn't saying white entertainment, but that's what it was without them saying
you Black videos played on MTV.
Yeah, none of that. So, without them saying white entertainment, they just put MTV and VH1. BET was bold enough to say Black entertainment because they was creating a platform for the Black artists that didn't have the opportunity. But the question that you asked, I do.
I mean, that because I know now some folks are, for Black folks.
Yeah.
Like there's another issue, and I didn't really go into that. I kind of saw it. There's a white woman who wants or is playing Harriet Tubman.
What?
The question is,
I mean, man, that's like
that's
like a Black dude playing Elvis.
Okay, would that be a problem?
I mean,
obviously,
you can't imagine
Elvis
it.
fans.
Yeah, like you can't even imagine that, like a Black, even though all of his sound came from a black man, but that's a whole different.
There we go. There's that.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking, does and I know there are a lot of white people that listen to Eminem, but Eminem it was black
dope,
folk.
Though.
It was one of the greatest rappers of all time. I put him up there in my top 5.
But he got that from us.
Where he got it from?
He got that from us hanging around.
So if he got it from us, he does it well.
Yeah.
Does BET recognize him like they would recognize?
I think they should. Because you got to look at the scales that they're measuring it from. So if they just measuring off of music and great music.
No,
yeah. And that's the loophole. So I think
the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the Beastie Boys.
The Beastie Boys was pretty good.
Yeah, but they were more rock. They're more rockish.
Yeah, but it was still. I mean, it was still rap music. It was just rock.
Yeah, but frat boys love the Beastie Boys.
Well, yeah.
White frats.
Well, yeah, because they was white.
No, but it's the type of music too.
Yeah, but it was rapped with a whole. I mean, though it still had the tempo and the beat of hip hop and rap music. They just added in the guitars and then.
So, I guess does BET?
That's a good question.
Recognize Eminem? Again, I was just I was watching the Rick James documentary. Tina Marie,
she was cold. So that one song, how did it go?
That fire.
Deja Vu.
Okay.
I love that song, Deja Vu.
So the first time you heard Tina Marie, did you know she was white?
No, because she had that soul feel in her. You know, I kind of like the dude that sing "What You Won't Do for Love." All of these years, I'm thinking he's a black dude and it's a white dude.
Bobby Caldwell.
Yep. Dun, 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 dun. So when you
Bobby
hear it, it's the whole soul feel. Like he's like, man, this cat. But then when you see it, you be like, hold up.
Well, I turned Key out on the Gino Vanelli.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had never heard Gino Vanelli, and I turned him on to Gino Vanelli. But I would say Eminem and Tina Marie, those are the two that really kind of just, you know, Tina Marie. Wasn't she "Sucker for Your Love"? That's a Rick James song.
I'm sure anything to do with Rick James and her, because they was dating at one point in time too. So I'm sure.
Well, they didn't start off that way.
Yeah. It never starts off that way.
But she was a songwriter.
Yeah.
"Sucker for Your Love." "Sucker for Your Love."
Yeah. Now, if you said, should BET give them
Tina Marie, written by Rick James.
Oh, there you have it. Yeah. So the Black Entertainment Award, like BET Awards,
right.
Yeah, that is Black Entertainment Awards. Yeah.
And you always hear this thing that, and there's a concern about, I think the term is called co-oping.
Yeah.
Or appropriating. You know, where you go and you.
Yeah.
But I'm.
Yeah, that's a good question, man.
I guess this is the rhetorical question. Do you have to be black in order to be recognized if you're doing what is considered black music? And I never got that Tina Marie was a perpetrator. I always thought that was really genuine for her. You know, that was really organic for her, wherever she was, however she grew up. But I just, you know, that would be culture. I would wonder what the culture critics would say. Now here's the other piece of it. Was it the BET Awards where Whitney Houston got booed back in the day because they thought she was too pop?
Oh.
So just because, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Should BET recognize Marshall Mathers and recognize Tina Marie? If they have, maybe they could have. They've done it, but and like I said, I put Eminem in my top 5 rappers of all time. Right. I mean, I just think his not the groove, the power of his lyrics, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna sound like it had nothing to do with him being white. I'm sure it did because he grew up in a trailer park. So I mean that's the equivalent to the projects, white people's projects, trailer park, and all the dysfunction that goes along. And hearing him like clearing out my closet, he just talked about everything that went on in his life, and to be able to. But and I don't know if you all think, but just certainly should Tina Marie, if Tina Marie has not been recognized by BET, should Tina Marie be recognized? Because, like I said, the impact that she's had on, and I put in quotations, Black music, even though music doesn't have a complexion, it does have cultural things. But and a lot of, like, you hear people talking about dancing, for example. You dance based on the rhythm that you grew up with. So if all you grew up with was rock music and that's what you heard all the time, your rhythm is rock music. If you grew up where all you heard was Black, and when the guy was talking about the blues and bluegrass, he was a blues guy. So, but you would listen to that. So how much of that, and again, how much of that was, this is what we did in Africa, and how much of this is what they did in Europe, and what you heard were all influenced by, take someone like Richard Smallwood.
Yeah.
Richard Smallwood is classically trained.
Yeah.
So when you listen to his music, there is a certain, people use the term classic, but that whole symphonic European kind of approach with a whole lot of Africa in it.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
But his exposure was that he was a trained musician. Now, a trained musician, as Ms. Harris was saying, it could be by ear.
Right.
But we're talking about now that more formalized sense of training. Like if you go and listen to these college choirs.
Oh yeah. So what's that choir that it's real good? It's a Black choir. I think they come up to these churches here.
Oh, Rust.
Oh my
Rust
God.
College.
When I first heard them,
that's for years,
I couldn't believe
Howard Gospel Choir can go.
I've never heard them. Wow.
Oh, Howard is good.
Yeah, Russ had me like, whoa.
For Mama when did some other things. Twinkie could have been at Howard.
Yeah.
At Howard, and she would have been there probably, based on her age, probably around the time of Roberta Flack.
Yeah.
Who had enormous influence on Donny Hathaway, who was also a student at Howard.
Now, that what I don't understand, speaking of music and rhythm and things like that, is what happened that the majority of the Caucasian people don't have rhythm.
They do have rhythm. It's different.
Yeah, so it's like on a different count, because ours is on our beat is on a 1.
On a 1.
And they beat is on a 3.
Yeah. Also, if you look at the poetry, it's I am a pentameter. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
But every culture has its own rhythm.
And that's crazy. That's
every culture has its own usage of drums.
Yeah.
But then in a country like America, where it really is culturally a melting pot, where there's all these influences. Yeah. So, then that means that Beyonce can do a country album.
Well,
because she grew up in Texas, where she heard a whole lot of country.
Yeah. See, and then, man, I guess for me, in my ear and like what I hear. So if I hear a 4/4 beat, 1 2 3 4 2 2, if I hear that timing, I hear that timing in my head, so I can't hear the beat on the 3 like how they hear the beat on the 3 and clap off. I just can't hear that, and so it's like for me, I can't fathom like how you can miss the rhythm on the 1 and catch it on the 3. I don't know. This is hard for me.
Yeah, I was waiting on food last night. and the Don't Go Breaking My Heart, Benny and the Jets, Elton John. And I was thinking the first time I heard Elton John, I was in high school. It was Benny and the Jets. I didn't know he was a white dude.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't know. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's an interesting question. I would you got a call? No. Oh, okay. It's an interesting question though. But the people out there that you may or may not have, you might have thought that there was something else, and then so anyway, 414-444-5250. Got a few minutes left and in the program as we wind down. And I've got the people calling in to hopefully get their kids enrolled in the music program. I was joking in American Pie. There was that whole joke about band camp and the kids going to band camp. Actually, that too. During the summer, if you can get your kids into different programs, if nothing more than day camp, get them into something, because they always talk about this learning gap that happens during the summer where kids are not being as educationally engaged. So, everything from, I think Kennedy's going to math camp, where you can get them in. And then again, this music camp, if you have kids between the ages of 8 and 15, because doing learning during the summer. Great thing for me was I loved nature. I love being outside. So to go to summer camp was great for me.
Yeah,
learned a lot. We don't call it now, but certainly Indigenous people lore, LORE, where you learn all about these different indigenous nations, everything from the Hopi to the Cherokee. I mean, the locals, the Potawatomi. You understood their very distinct national identity, tribal identity, the sacredness of some of the stuff that they did. We were having this whole discussion about African religions, and what Christianity has done is said that all other religions are inferior to Christianity. And somebody asked the question, I think they had texted me. They said, what did black people do before they came to the New World, right? That we had our African tradition of worship and all these different things. And then, as we talked about voodoo, but voodoo has been so pejorative, because you would see awful movies with Tarzan and the people were doing voodoo, and that's the thing. Expose yourself to different thoughts. You can't criticize what you don't know. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good
Hello?
morning. Yeah.
Hey, yes, sir. Hey, listen, brother. I just got to tell you this. I've told you a bunch of times. Christianity is superior to all other
It is
religions.
not.
Okay? The reason why we have something. Why you think it's hated by all the other religions? Because we have something added to our story that they don't got.
So you say what makes Christianity? What did you say?
Why do you think they hate Christianity? Everybody else, if I do something, they'll say, you supposed to be a Christian. Somebody else do something they don't care nothing about. You supposed to be, they don't really say that. You supposed to be a Hindu. They don't say that. See, Christianity is hated because we have something that other religions don't have. We have a risen Savior that atones for our sins. The blood that ran through Jesus' veins atoned for us. atones for our sin. It redeems us back to God, the Creator. These other religions don't have that. We have. That's why they hate us. We have a risen Savior, man. That's added to ours. They hate us, man. They hate us. Our story got something added on.
I heard something in the back of my mind said we also have white Jesus.
Okay, can I tell you something about the white Jesus? The white Jesus was injected during to show superiority over blacks. Once they realized, see, the white man already know that he stole that religion from us. That's another. See, Christianity and Judaism is another stolen legacy from the African.
All right, bro.
Yeah, you won't never call me in when you got the big boys, man. You leave little peons like me on the side. Yeah.
Boy, get personal in here.
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
Let me thank Mr. Chris Crane. Let me thank Miss Helen Harris. Let me thank Miss Michelle Bryan. Debo, thank you. Jermaine, thank you.
Indeed, man.
Good Lord willing. Creek to rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.